visited the ochre mines there and collected various pigments. So in this photograph it shows red ochre and ultramarine blue pigments being mixed with clay to make oil pastels. As well as my material interest in making paints from this base sort of level, the traditional technique of egg tempera by grinding pigments and building colour in translucent layers allows for an interesting contrast between this now rare traditional technique and contemporary subject matter. The paintings hover between different styles and rhythms, evoking at once the historical and the contemporary, from Renaissance Italy to Mexican muralism, and through to the influences of these forms in contemporary painting today. So, from the miniature to the fresco, narrative is often depicted in terms of its relationship to space, with multiple times being depicted within the same pictorial space. For instance, in the miniature, the main scene is normally rendered at the same size as one representing past events or spatial depth, but these might be indicated instead by being placed higher up in space. So I'm interested in playing with form and narrative structure in fragmentary and non-chronological ways, where the viewer's sense of time is disrupted or dissolved. This influence can also be seen in certain works by the contemporary artist Rose Wiley, for example in this multi-panel painting, where, especially in the title, you can see the artist's interest in a mixture between the ancient and the modern, and high and low culture. The NK refers to a paparazzi image that she found of Nicole Kidman, and the Syracuse and the repetition of the figure recall depictions of religious processions often found in friezes and mosaics. So the actor is depicted multiple times across 4 adjacent canvas panels, and the repetition evokes something like a segment of stop frame animation. This approach to narrative time within works or across a series is something that I've been exploring in my paintings. So in these works from 2018, I've been interested in juxtaposing and connecting certain ancient mythologies and elements from contemporary society. Here I looked into various retellings and interpretations of the myth of Medea, interrogating the legacy and iconography of the myth of this murderous mother, following Marina Warner's writings on Medea, and how this monstrous she-monster has been depicted throughout the centuries, and the effect of this mythology on societal stereotypes today. In my works, this model of the past and the present is central, often exploring fragments of contemporary life within a broader art historical context. This weaving of poetry, myth, tabloids, and television creates loosely formed and incidental narratives within the works. In this painting, I reinterpreted a scene from Piero della Francesca's fresco cycle, The Legend of the True Cross, imagining the figures instead as a cast of characters, who then became repeated figures in other paintings. During this residency at Zaratan, I will create a series of paintings and drawings that draw upon the environment and history of Lisbon, working from drawings, photographs, and other source imagery, such as paintings and museums, and from imagination. The tiles and street art of Lisbon will feed into my continued explorations of contemporary re-engagements with the mural form. Today, huge friezes and state-sponsored public murals are no longer very common, but the tradition has continued in the form of public artworks, either those endorsed by galleries or in the form of graffitied walls, an ancient form of civic protest, or a recording of one's presence that can still feel contemporary and political. As well as the potential for collective public viewership and dialogue, I'm interested in the mural's connection to the miniature and the scroll. With these, the mural has the potential to evoke more intimate, domestic, or sacred spaces of encounter. So with these small tile works, I translate elements from larger paintings into a miniature cropped form, and experiment with a display that has a particular relationship to architecture. These works were exhibited last spring at an exhibition in Oxford. Usually I work in egg-tempera on board, but these works were made on a kind of thin canvas-mounted board that meant they could be hung in such a way that their relationship to the wall had more of a relationship to drawing. The repetition of colour and shapes across the works means that they can be arranged in different configurations, with the feeling that they could almost fit together. And lastly, this was my degree show installation, a series of small oil and egg tempera paintings on board. The idea was to create something between a tableau and an enigmatic environment into which the viewer can enter. Certain relationships between the works are amplified with echoes, reflections, and references, both crafting and unsettling meaning for the viewer who can fabricate their own narratives. Some details. So I'm looking forward to continuing some of these threads while I'm at Zaratan this month and beyond. Thanks very much. If you have any questions later, then feel free to ask.
Can you open the door, please? And information. After there are 2 concerts where we kindly ask you to be member and charging you €3.50 if you want to stay. It's going to be a Portuguese project called Ghent with projection and an Italian artist also working with electronic and projection. Feel free to stay and feel free to bother our artist in residency with questions. We will not beat you because of that. Depending on the question. No number falls allowed.
Thank you. That's good. Any questions? So this was the footage.
The second one.
Yes.
Yeah. That was so nice. It's so fresh.